What's up, YouTube? This is the author. Right back up in that ass once again. Just wanted to make a nice little short, little quick video. I read this book, man. I think every male should read this book. Every male, married, single, everyone should read this book, man. It's called The Anatomy of Female Power. Masculinist, the section of matriarchy, written by, I know I'm going to mess this up, but he's a Nigerian critic, poet, and author. His name is Chinweizn Ibekwe. If you want me to spell it, first name Chinweizn, last name Ibekwe. Once again, that's Chinweizn, last name Ibekwe, Abekwe. Sorry, I probably assassinated that name, but I just read his book, Anatomy of Female Power. I looked up this guy on Google. There's not a whole lot of information about him. I found out he got his PhD at SUNY Buffalo. Actually, what I find most interesting is that they mentioned that he wrote the book Anatomy of Female Power. And usually, if it's a book, you can click on it in the Google heading, and they won't even allow you to click on it. I heard this book was banned in the U.S. actually. So, they don't want you reading it here. If it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't have been able to get a hold of it. So it's very short, but it's only like 135 pages. But it's one of the best books I've read because it's packed with a lot of information that he's speaking about. He's pretty much talking about marriage and how pretty much there's an illusion that men rule the world, when in actuality females have a lot more power than males. They all within the world, they always have since the beginning of time. Even before feminism, females pretty much rule the world. And I know some people out there probably saying, but yeah, you look at the world and you see men in all the big corporations that are CEOs of major banks, and they rule all the major companies, the big businesses. But he was talking about it's a such thing called the power behind the throne. Men have to go out and be major achievers just to get access to the womb, while the woman pretty much gets to sit back and not have to take any risk, like by going out into the world and getting all these jobs. They don't have to take any risk, but they still reap the benefits by collecting the money. So all men, no matter how powerful, he has to bring his check home and to his wife, and she pretty much controls the spending power. Men, influential men buy the cars, the expensive cars, the fancy clothes. We do all of this to impress women. So who really has the power? What I'm saying? He kind of broke that down, saying, what's all the fame, power, and wealth really about? And every man that has power, you notice that he has the jewelry, the clothes, but somewhere there's a woman in the picture. Look at these rap videos, rock videos. All the fame and wealth is pretty much to impress her. And whoever has the most gets more access to the womb, which the woman controls, always have. And he's talking about the matriarchy, pretty much how it's set up, where men are made into he said marriage is really nothing but what he calls nest slavery. where pretty much it's set up to where a man is pretty much a slave in the home, even a CEO corporation guy who tells thousands of people what to do. Once he gets home, his wife pretty much, has all the control. And, she pretty much controls his life. He said the women have the major control. They control men's lives through 5 major areas. He says the woman controls the womb, which is the pussy, the kitchen, the cradle, which is, of course, the kid. And he talks about the psychological immaturity. So pretty much women reach their full potential or their full maturity level at 15, while men don't reach their full maturity level until age 60. So we're at another disadvantage. And he talks about men's tendency to get excited with an erect penis. When we see a female's body, most of us are groomed that way. Minus gay men, but most men, even bisexuals, they get excited by a female's body and get groomed that way. And he says how the average man is groomed to be a nest slave or to get married. He calls marriage modern day slavery for men. You're groomed to be a nest slave since you're a young boy. He said the mother pretty much, indoctrinates the son into that, try to please mom. She pretty much, grooms the son into being this type of individual who's going to pretty much bow down to a woman, So, she pretty much, any woman pretty much grooms her son until, I know, like when I was raised, you're not supposed to hit a girl, no matter what she does to you. You're a punk if you hit a girl, but you're only a man when you hit another man. All these type of things are tools to pretty much groom a young boy, into being a slave to a woman. That's why when I taught 8th grade, even when I was in school, a lot of your toughest guys would, if they play around with girls, they'll allow girls to knock the shit out of them. But if a guy says, and that's during playtime in most cases, but when a guy says something to him or looks at him the wrong way, he's ready to kill him. We're groomed that way. So he says it's mother power, and then it's bridal power when the kid gets a girlfriend, and also mother power. Your mother always controls the kitchen. She does the majority of the cooking. So he says how women always do that. They control the kitchen, so they control your stomach. So if you mess up, they leave, and you're hungry. So she has control of the kitchen. In a lot of ways, a lot of men's masculinity was already threatened, because she pretty much molds a boy to be, if she's a woman, she's going to mold you more to be, subservient to women. Your father, if he was in a home, he's always working. And men can't typically have control of the cradle. So, you control mother to son in that relationship. You're controlled when you get a girlfriend. He calls that the bridal power, where now you're with a girlfriend and she controls the kitchen, and then it's the third stage is the wife power. So when you get married, now pretty much the wife controls, she has the control that your mother had over your father with the cradle, and she controls, your stomach, and she controls the womb. You get sex when she says so, and he just talks about how pretty much, that's how boys are raised, and females are pretty much raised to be wives. They're pretty much trained at an early age, subconsciously. They're treated better than the son, and they're raised subconsciously to pretty much put a man in his place to dominate a man, just like she has dominated the female's father. For those of us who've had fathers in the homes, I know my generation, Generation X, is where a lot of the majority of the men were pushed out of the homes. So that even gives even more tyrannical power to the woman, but that's a matriarchy, mother, pretty much having control, total control over the nest. But yeah, I might make 2 videos on this. But yeah, he pretty much goes into depth about that, and he just talks about how, boys are raised to be heroic. In every story you read, the man, every fantasy story, or like even Cinderella, some of these stories where the man has to go through hell and high water so he can be the hero, so he can be worthy enough to, win the woman, and why does the man have to go through all of that just to get one woman? All these women on the planet, he has to go through hell and high water, he has to go through danger, he has to, you see movies where men, crawl up mountains. I've seen in movies like for Freddy and Jason, where guys will go up against Freddy just so the girl can run a little further and get his head just chopped off, just so she may have a chance to escape. And a lot of times Freddy will catch her too. Jason will kill her too after he makes short work of the guy. But, the guy will go ahead and play the heroic role so he can stand there and try to fight Jason, face sure death, just so she can get a few feet further. That's the heroic role, and we're programmed through TV as well to be the heroic, to be the hero, just to get that woman, that's womb power, just to get the pussy so you can continue to procreate, and under a masculinist lens, which is what I'm using now. I'm analyzing this through a masculinist lens, which is what he talks about. He's a pro. That's why he says a masculinist section of this. A man shouldn't have to go through all of this to get to the womb when a woman doesn't have to do anything to get the penis. So he talks about stuff like this, man, and he goes into depth. He talks about some stuff, how things are unfair. Like he says when what does he say? I took some notes. He said when Prince Philip, husband to Britain's Queen Elizabeth II, when he married her, he's still just a prince. But if a king takes on a wife, that woman is automatically queen. But if a prince marries a queen, he's not automatically a king. So he just talks about why is this? Why when Prince Philip married Queen Elizabeth II, why wasn't he considered a king? And I never thought, these are things that I wasn't really thinking about, before. But yeah, he pretty much breaks stuff like this down, man. I'm gonna go more into detail about it in my second video. But again, all men should take a look at this book, man, because especially for guys who think it's bad to be in the pickup or to be trying to learn how to approach women and date. This book right here pretty much just, lets you know how, women aren't all what you think, it's something deeper. I'll go into it, but this book is a great foundation for guys who want to, get empowered. But I'll talk about this in part 2 of this analysis. Until then.